Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast, the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions from the worlds of TV, film, pop culture, social media, news, lifestyle, everything really depending on the guest. We talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. My guest is an actor, storyteller. You'll recognize her from a lot of cool movies and TV shows. Most recently, you will recognize her from The Right Stuff on Disney+. Eloise Mumford is with us. Eloise, welcome to Popternative.
Hello, thank you very much.
No problem. I mean, we talked about right before we start. I mean, The Right Stuff available now. It is a National Geographic show on Disney+. Just kind of the look of the show was amazing. Like the cinematographers knocked it out of the park.
I know, they did an incredible job. I mean, everything from the director, cinematographers, the costume designer, Hope Hannafin's incredible. The scenic design, it just, the whole thing. It was such a joy to get to step into it every day at work. I mean, that's one of my favorite things about being an actor is, getting to play dress up. So getting to step into that world was really special.
That's basically what you do.
Yeah,
pretty much. But what kind of drove you towards acting and storytelling? Like, what did you kind of like about it?
So I was a really shy kid, and I actually don't really enjoy being in the spotlight very much, but I do love acting. I just love it. I fell in love with it when I was 7. I saw a production of a musical, and from then on, I was just smitten. And so I studied theater. I did a ton of theater as a kid. I studied theater at NYU, and it just still to this day, it's just where my heart is. I love storytelling and I love acting.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things too, where, that's, even if you're like a writer or director or actor, like it's all storytelling. That's that's what it is essentially. You have had also an opportunity to work in film and to work in TV. I mean, a lot of people kind of say, TV now is becoming insanely prominent, and it wasn't always like that, right? TV sometimes took the backseat to film. What do you kind of noticed about the TV industry in the last 5 years, Eloise?
The thing I love about working in TV is that you get to build a family in a way that, films, you come together, it still is very much a family, but there's a limited, you're aware that it's limited, the amount of time you're all going to be together. It's very intense. It's really fun. You bond very quickly and then you all go your separate ways. But on TV shows, on TV sets, you build this family. Like for The Right Stuff, I was honestly FaceTiming with a bunch of the astronauts earlier today, on a big
That's awesome.
FaceTime. We all really love each other, and so that part of it is so fun. You really become family with these people. And right now, especially in television, it's a really beautiful place for stories to be explored in a longer format. And as a storyteller, obviously that's always really exciting, especially as someone, who's drawn to characters. You get to see the character arc in a way that is much more extended and much more in depth than just a 2-hour, 90-minute, whatever movie. This way it can be however many episodes. You get to really dive in.
And of course, and very quickly before, for people that haven't kind of seen The Right Stuff yet, can you talk a little bit about what they can expect from the series and your character a little bit?
Yeah, so The Right Stuff is about the Mercury 7, which were the first astronauts, American astronauts to go to space. Yep. And that was late 1950s, early 1960s. It was when we were just literally strapping people to a rocket and shooting them up there and hoping that everything was well. No, it was much more planned than that, obviously. But, it was the beginning of it all, and it was really dangerous. It was very exciting. And it was the space race. It was really thrilling. And I played Trudy Cooper, who is Gordon Cooper's wife. She was he's one of the Mercury 7. And she was the only one of the wives of the astronauts who was a pilot herself. She was a total badass. She and Gordo were separated, actually, when he was selected for the program or being considered for the program. And in order to be part of the program, the astronauts had to have stable home lives or good home lives. And so he asked her to come back to get back together with him. And she did, and stayed with him for as long as he was in the program. But she was a really fierce, driven, awesome woman.
Was there a lot of research that had to go into this role? I mean, obviously, you like there's I'm sure there's a lot of things that you learned doing this film that you didn't really know a lot about, but was there a lot of specific things that you had to kind of research about the character, about space in general? What was that like preparing for a role like this?
I'm a total nerd, so I go really hard on all that sort of stuff. And in having someone who's a real person was so fun to get to dig into that. There's obviously so much to learn about the whole space race in general, and we all went really hard reading everything, watching everything like that. And then for Trudy Cooper in particular, I was really drawn to researching the female pilots of the time and the people who preceded her, which was fascinating to learn about. I didn't know enough about that. And sadly, women back then and to this day are not given the same amount of attention in areas, especially of science. And so to get to really dig into these stories of women who I'd never heard anything about really, and hopefully in this show get to bring some of them to the forefront was really, really exciting to me.
Do you find it sometimes like a challenge to kind of when you're acting to play a role of someone who, like a real life person? Like, is that kind of sometimes like what do you kind of think about that in general about an actor? Like, that's kind of takes a whole different kind of perspective, right? Because you're basically bringing to life something that already, had a life, so to speak, right?
Totally. Yeah, I felt a huge responsibility, honestly. I think we all did, to do them justice. And Trudy in particular, I felt a huge responsibility to do her justice, to fill her shoes in a way that honored who she was, both as, a figure in history, but also as a human who was going through these very intense human things. It's a humbling experience and real one that I really am grateful for.
No, absolutely. Another project that a lot of people will know you from is, of course, the 50 Shades of Grey films. And what's interesting about this is these are based on books, and your character was also in the books. And sometimes that doesn't happen. Like sometimes there are movies or TV shows based on graphic novels or books, and some characters are in the adaptation of the series that aren't in the books, but you got to play a character that people knew from the books as well. That must have been exciting.
It was really fun. I mean, what I'm so grateful for that experience was that, talk about a global phenomenon, those books, and getting to be a part of that was really exciting. And I'm really grateful for the people that I met doing it. I love reading books, so that part of it was fun too, to have it be, my research was to read a lot, which was really fun.
Absolutely. And it was pretty cool because like it's always exciting too, as someone working in the industry, like you did more than one film, right?
Yeah. I mean, that was a lot. I mean, maybe 4 or 5 years of my life total, but from the time I was cast to the time that we finished promoting the final one, and fell in love with so many people that I worked with. Again, that part of it is so exciting to me, to get to build a family with people you work with.
You get casted in these projects, you shoot these projects. Do people kind of realize though that essentially you're going on these projects, whether it's 3 months, 4 months, sometimes it's even shorter, sometimes it's like 2 weeks, but your job a lot of times as an actor, like, do people realize how much auditioning kind of goes on? Like there's a lot of auditioning.
You're so right. I don't know that people realize that. I mean, honestly, I remember when I went to school for acting, and when I was there, people would come and give guest classes, and they'd be like, you will audition 10,000 times and book, once. And at the time, I was 18, and I was like, yeah, right. Surely that's not how it really works. Now I'm like, oh yeah, that's how it really works. Yeah. And the thing is, we were talking about loving acting earlier. It's a hard life. When it's working, it's phenomenal. And there's a lot of time in between where it is nowhere near as glamorous, quite the opposite of like what is portrayed,
Oh,
and
no.
the sort of like, I don't know, the self-resolve that it takes in order to stick with it is sometimes pretty intense. And so sometimes when I'm auditioning, I'll like feel that same butterflies of how much I love acting. And I'm like, darn it, I still love it, which is like almost a disappointment, because it'd be so much easier to go do something else. But there's a lot of auditioning.
But it's pretty funny because I was interviewing someone who was on the show, who was on 2 really prominent television shows, and they both kind of concluded they had their final seasons. So she was telling me, she's like, yeah, like something's gonna happen, but like right now, like I don't know what I'm doing coming up. You know what I mean? Like I don't have like an acting job right now. You know what I mean? It's crazy to think about that. I don't think we think about that a lot.
No, there's a lot of time in between, you know, and you're so lucky if you're able to support yourself as an actor, so that the in between becomes time that you're filling with other things that you love, which I think is really important too. As I've gotten older, realizing that being a full human is part of what makes you a better actor, and so having life experiences in between that actually add to who you are as a person who's living a real life, who's experiencing real human things, that will actually only add to your art.
Absolutely. It's no surprise that social media has become a game changer in the entertainment industry. One can make an argument it's a double-edged sword. There's some good things and bad things. One thing that I've noticed too is a lot of people like yourself get pretty incredible kind of fan bases and a lot of followers based on projects they've done because they're in the public eye a lot. With a lot of those kind of followers, though, have you ever thought about the fact that you have such a big platform? There's like a responsibility. Like that's a big thing that comes into play as well, right?
I feel that a lot, honestly. I felt it a lot with the election, honestly. Encouraging people to vote was something that was really, really important to me. Exercising our duty as citizens, and I got a lot of blowback from that, honestly. I mean, anytime you speak out on a platform like that, there are people who just want you to stick to acting, and it's tough because I think we do have a responsibility. If you have any sort of platform, if there's something that's important in this world, then I will use that platform to talk about it. And if the consequence is that people unfollow me, then that's a consequence that I'm willing to take because I believe in it. I believe that it's our duty as good humans.
The one thing that blows my mind is just how quick too. Like someone posts something and then like boom, there's all these comments and replies. Like it's just the quickness of it. And I worked in marketing and sports and everything, and like on Twitter, like live updates of games and stuff. Just like the quickness of it is like pretty crazy, I find.
Yeah, it's wild, and I'm so grateful to be able to have a way to talk to people all over the world. Honestly, I'm super, super grateful for it. And whenever somebody's rude, I have to remind myself that there's thousands of people who are kind and wonderful, who are not saying something, that there's a loud, trolls are loud.
But at the end of the day too, trolls are loud, but at the end of the day, you're doing a lot of things, you know what I mean? You're busy, you're doing a lot of really cool, amazing things, you know what I mean? Like there's no time for that. You got to focus on your projects. Let's be honest, right?
That's right. I don't know. Social media has changed it's changed so much. It really has changed so much. It's been a really interesting thing to navigate as an adult, honestly. I mean, the year I went to college was the year that Facebook first started. So, I'm right in the zone of growing up with that. And it's a wild ride.
It's pretty funny going back to the right stuff. I mean, trailers get launched for a show, you know what I mean? They announce the cast and everything, you know what I mean? Then it kind of finally drops. But I find there's a kind of an interesting calm before the storm, like the first 2-3 days before a show actually drops. And you guys have been working on this for quite some time. What was that kind of like the first couple of days before it dropped?
It was exciting. I mean, this year has been nuts for everybody, obviously. We finished filming last December, and then it came out in this October. So there was a long time of us waiting, knowing that we had filmed this thing that we loved, that we all believed in so much. And so to finally have it coming out it was really exciting. And I don't know, I was really looking forward for the world to get to see it finally after all this time.
Absolutely. I have to say a shout out. Like I am from Canada. One of your co-stars in this, Patrick J. Adams, is from Canada. Shout out to Canada and shout out to
tell you were from Canada. I kept saying, I was like, definitely, I've worked in Canada enough to know that you are definitely from Canada.
I will take it. You
were amazing. I've long said that I wanted to marry a Canadian. So yeah, if there's any Canadians out there.
Were there a lot of Canadians on The Right Stuff, or was he one of the only ones?
No, he was one of the only ones, but 50 Shades shot in Vancouver. So
yeah, I was about to say that. I knew quite a few people that worked on that set, because I have some friends in Vancouver that worked on the movies. So
yeah, I think I've probably worked in Vancouver more than anywhere else in the country or non-country.
I know, it's crazy. It's funny because Vancouver was always there and booming, but I have to say, like I'm in Ontario, like Toronto's rocking too now. Like there's some good stuff filming in Toronto.
Yeah. I love it. I love Vancouver. I love Canada. Wonder bars are my favorite candy bars. They're so good. I ordered them from Amazon, but they only come in a pack of 25. So then I have
Oh man, there's so many Canadian things, but that was something that I did not expect you to say. I like them too; they're delicious. But like, that is awesome. I thought you were gonna say like ketchup chips.
nah.
Or like Wonder Bar. Well, I think it's the other way around. I think Three Musketeers. I think that's only in the States, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was a chocolate bar too. Like when I would go to the States, like we didn't have that here, so we would get them over there. Those were good, but it's kind of like a Mars bar, same kind of thing. But
Yeah. I put them in the freezer, and then just hot tip, put them in the freezer.
man, Charleston Chief, that chocolate bar.
Yeah.
That's a really good one too. But I remember it's always a joke with my friends because we went to Sugar Mountain, which is a candy store, and we were like getting some candy bar, and I swear the guy working at the store in Louise said it like 12 times, like, "Oh yeah, they're much better if you put them in the freezer. Like, make sure you put them in the freezer." And then when we bought them, thanks a lot, guys. Don't forget to put them in the freezer. Like, I'm pretty sure he said it like 12 times. Like we were like, "Oh man."
My goal is to spread that gospel.
Absolutely. Eloise, thank you so much for coming on Popternative. This was a blast. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was such a delight. Take care.
Where can people follow you on social media? And they can watch the right stuff right now on Disney Plus, right?
Yes. That's on Disney Plus. And you can follow me on social media on Instagram. It's just my name, Eloise Mumford. Twitter, Eloise_Mumford. I don't know why they aren't the same, but here we are, you know?
Absolutely. Well, hopefully you get to work in Canada again and enjoy a Wonder Bar.
You enjoy one for me until then.
Absolutely. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. You can catch Eloise Mumford on The Right Stuff, which is now on Disney Plus. And until next time, this is Eloise Mumford and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.